Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making this cute little pencil shaped treat box. The rectangular element of the box is 1.5 by 1.5 by 5, and the box space and this top part are made from two separate pieces of cardstock. You can, if you chose to make this all from one colour, make this from one sheet of A4 or US letter. I will show you two methods of creating this top section, and then you can choose whichever you think will be easiest. One method is a great way of using up your scraps of cardstock. It's not a tricky box to put together, so let's get started. For the main body of the pencil, we're starting with a piece which is 6.5 by 7. Along the 6.5 inch side, score at 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 6. Rotate, and on the long side we're going to score at 5 and 6.5. Now you could, if you wanted, add an aperture into any of these sections depending on what you're going to put in it. That of course is entirely optional. Fold and burnish along all of your score lines. We're going to remove these sections here. We're also going to remove this section in its entirety. We're going to leave this bottom left hand corner completely alone. I'm going to move over to this right hand side and remove this long section. So I've cut up to the second horizontal, and this leaves us with our side glue tab. So we'll take a wedge from the ends of those. We're going to move along to what will be the third from the left, this one here, and we'll completely remove that square. And again, we're going to cut right up to the second horizontal, removing the score lines at the same time, rotate and remove that section. So this is the front edge of our box. I'm going to split these two by cutting up the score line. And then I'm going to cut these squares down to about 1/2 inch. Now this is optional. You can completely remove these sections, but I'll indicate how the box is going to look with those in place. So this is our join. These two that we've left in place are going to come in, and then the lid will come over the top and tuck in. So if you don't want those flaps, you can remove those completely. So you would only be left with this square here, and then these three would be completely removed. So that's entirely your preference. I'm going to shape the ends just so that there's less chance of the lid getting caught. I'm going to take a corner off of the tab for the lid. This is personal preference, and I'm also going to use my circle punch, let's tuck those in, to cut a notch into what would be the front section of the box. So this is our box. I'm going to fold this right hand corner over, add some glue onto the long glue tab. Of course, if you did want to add an aperture, you need to have done this by now. Fold this end over and join up the pencil base. So this is our lid. These fold in. This is going to come across. If you're struggling to get your lid in, then you can just shape the internal flaps, add more of a V into them so you're creating a bigger gap, but that slots down in there quite nicely. That's our pencil base. At the end of the pencil, I'm going to show you two ways you can put this together, and then you can decide which way you want to follow. As I said at the beginning, you can cut this from one sheet of cardstock. I've chosen to have a different colour for the end of my pencil, and if you do it this way, it's a good way of using up scraps. So the first method is you would need 4 squares which were 2 by 2.5, and along the 2.5 inch side you'll score at 2 inches. You're then going to fold under the 1/2 inch tab, put the piece back in the scoreboard with the fold at the top, and make a pencil mark at 1/2 inch. Rotate the piece 180 degrees, so we've now got our fold at the bottom, and make a pencil mark at 3/4 inch. And you're going to do this 4 times, so this is going to create the the four sides of the end of the pencil. Take your stylus and ruler. I've got the 1/2 inch tab at the bottom, and I'm going to score from the top pencil mark down to the pencil mark here on the score line, like so. Take your scissors, I've got the tab at the top, I'm going to cut from the pencil line down to the edge at the end of the score line, like so. Rotate, I'm going to cut from the corner approximately 1/2 inch away from the score line, like so. I'm going to shape this tab, and you will need quite a sharp shape on the top of the tab. Rotate, cut down to shape this side, and then I'm going to shape the bottom. So you'll have 4 pieces which look something like this, and we're then going to fold along the score line and burnish. And you will be able to see whether you've cut the top of this glue tab enough, because if you haven't, you'll be able to see it underneath this piece. So what we will do is we'll have 4 of these, and we will join them all together by this long glue tab, and that will give us something which gives us 4 pieces which look like this, which will then come round to create the top end of the pencil, and that will then fit down inside the box like so. So this is a good way if you've got smaller scraps of cardstock that you want to use. An alternative method would be, you'll start by creating a triangle template. So this piece would be 1.5 by 2 inches, and along the 2-inch side you would make a pencil mark at 3/4 inch. You're then going to cut from the bottom left up to the 3/4 inch, and from the bottom right up to the 3/4 inch mark, and that's going to give you your triangle, which looks like so. So we're going to use this as a template to create the top part of the pencil. You can make this out of any cardstock. It doesn't need to be the cardstock you're going to use for the end of the pencil. I've got a offcut of card. This is 5 7/8 by just under 4 inches. I'm going to start by laying the left hand edge of the triangle up against the top edge of the cardstock like so, and I'm approximately 3/4 inch in from the left hand side. You want to make sure you use a nice sharp pencil because you do want to get crisp lines. I'm going to draw around my triangle template like so. So I've got my one triangle. I'm going to line up the left hand edge of my triangle template with the right hand pencil line. Draw around like so. Repeat that for the 3rd time, and then I'm going to put in my last triangle like so. So this is the 4 triangle segments which are equivalent to the 4 triangle segments we've got here. We then want to trace along the pencil lines with our stylus to create our score lines, and as we're scoring we want to extend beyond the outer edge here, because this is going to take the score line into our glue tab. I'm then going to cut approximately 1/2 inch away from the outer edge to create my glue tabs. I'm also going to follow the shape around and cut approximately 1/2 inch away from the end, like so. Cut up each of the score lines to the outer edge, so we're separating the glue tabs, and then I'm going to shape those. So now we can go in and burnish along all of our score lines. Do make sure you remove any pencil lines. So this is now going to come around and will join together and we'll create our top like so. I'm going to join this one together, secure this into place. I'm going to undo the lid, add glue onto all of the glue tabs. My lid is at this end. I'm going to sit this end inside the box like so. And now I can go in from the other end and just burnish down the tabs with my score tool. So that's now in place, and now I'm going to add the finishing touches to make it look more like a pencil. Here's the finished box. All I've done is coloured the end with a felt tip, used some shaped scissors to create this scalloped edge just to add around the top, and added some strips of coloured paper around the sides. So there we have today's project, a relatively quick and simple treat box. And as I say, you could of course add an aperture into one or more of the sides if you so choose, but I think it's turned into a great little treat box. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.